Hello artists, welcome to Creativity Time with Julia Major. This is my second video on picture books about the studio habit Engage and Persist. Definitely make sure to check out the other one below and to like and subscribe. Two of these picture books have specifically to do with art making, and one is just about engaging and persisting overall, but they're all fabulously illustrated books. The first book is Uncle Jed's Barbershop. Uncle Jed's Barbershop is beautifully illustrated. It's really luminous. I love how you can see the brush strokes, but it's also fairly realistic. And there's just little bits of character all throughout the book in showing the scenery, showing the seasons. The illustrator is named James Ransome, and he has actually said that he intentionally put in, I really noticed the first time I read it, this beautiful quilt, and he said that that's representational of the history the family has and their craftsmanship. And I think that that really comes through. On this page, the little girl is very sick, but your eye goes straight to that quilt and then to see the family members caring for her. I also love the dog that appears in certain pages. And then he also points out that he uses the season of autumn to show the passage of time with the movement of the leaves. And I really love how these leaves that are being swept on this page end up here where you see the writing. It's just a beautiful sense of movement. The author of this book specifically says that she wrote it. Her name is Margaree King Mitchell, and she wrote this because she saw that African American children and African American stories were underrepresented in picture books, and she wanted to change that. And this book is actually based on her actual grandfather, and the illustrator put in notes to his own grandfather as well. And it's a winner of the Coretta Scott King Award. So this is a beautiful book about someone who has a dream of what they want to achieve in their life, of how they want to help people. And though it takes a long time, he is able to achieve that dream. And the journey is just as important as the destination. I highly recommend it. The next book is probably the book I think of when I think of Engage and Persist. Not just if you ask me to think of a picture book that relates to Engage and Persist. When I envision engaging and persisting in my mind, this is what comes into my mind's eye because it was such a big part of my childhood. It's a fabulous book. It's a Reading Rainbow book. It's also a Caldecott Medal winner. Mirette on the High Wire by Emily Arnold McCully. And she is both the writer and the illustrator. And the illustrations in this just capture my imagination every time. There's such a sense of movement, imagination, and time and place. So this is Mirette here when she's a waitress in her mom's little inn, and you can see the artists that she likes to listen to. I remember as a kid I was particularly struck. It's not necessarily the most interesting of the pictures, but one that really grabbed my imagination was her sitting on the balcony here, eavesdropping on the artists. And then you also have the amazing pictures of the High Wire Act. It's a fabulous story, and I believe that I can find a link to it being read aloud on Reading Rainbow, so if I do, I will link that as well. But it's absolutely worth owning a copy. It's one of my all-time favorite picture books. Last but not least, we have Sophie's masterpiece. I actually was planning to include this book in the section on fiber arts, but I couldn't find my copy. Now I have two copies, and it is just so beautiful. I think have a handkerchief when you're reading this book because you may tear up a little, but it's ultimately a story of kindness and warmth and artistry. It also really relates to the studio habit of craftsmanship. Sophie is a spider, and she goes from place to place, making beautiful works of art for the people whose houses she lives in. You can see her weaving here. It's wonderfully illustrated with a great sense of scale and of movement. I highly recommend it, and there is an excellent reading aloud of this done by an actress. I'm sorry that I've forgotten her name, but I will link it below, and it is an officially allowed read aloud done by the Screen Actors, someone from the Screen Actors Guild. And as much as I love physically reading this book, the read aloud is one of the best read alouds I've ever seen. So we'll definitely link that. Thank you for coming to Creativity Time with Julia Major. I hope that you like and subscribe and share with a friend, and that you have a very colorful day.